Hey, so we're gonna record 2 videos in one day, and in this particular video, we're gonna go over how to run the Graphtec plotter with the same SUNY Wildcats logo that we've been working with from the get-go. So first things first, you wanna take your media, make sure it's flat, and you're gonna put it in underneath all these rollers. You can, with the power off, move this whole thing over. If the power is on, you have to make sure that your hammer, which is this rod right back here, get a better view of it, this rod right back here is down. And this is a Graphtec FC9000. It is the cream of the crop for this particular model. It doesn't get any better than this, and sometimes I wish it would, but then again, every plotter has its own problems. It's also my birthday today, so pardon the balloons, they're gonna help us out. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the graphic nice and loose. It's underneath all the rollers. We've got our cutting head over there exactly where it should be. And what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna make sure that your graphic stays on the rollers, on all of them, and you're gonna line them up to these guys here, these little dots. So you wanna make sure that's as straight as possible. For a short print, doesn't matter if it has to be perfect, but for a long print, you really wanna be spot on. So that right there looks pretty good. All the rollers are on the graphic. 2 of these are over a little further than I want them to be, but that's fine for this particular purpose. And what you do is take your hammer and you'll raise it back up. So at this point, if your machine was turned off, you turn it on right there. So right now it's in the on position. Right now I just turned it off. Now it's in the on position. And you'll see that your screen turns on. It's gonna say some things. That's the version of the firmware that we have. Command set to auto. And this thing is not awake. It's gonna ask you, do you have a roll that you wanna measure to the front edge, which means that it'll take this whole thing and measure to the front edge. It's got a little eyeball in here somewhere. It's gonna find out where it is. If you want 2, keep your roll at the current position, so it's not gonna move it. It's just gonna measure the distance between all these rollers and see how wide your media is. Or 3, if you have a sheet, so it'll measure the front and then it'll measure the back of it as well. We're just gonna keep it at 2 because I know it's a roll or a sheet and I don't really need to see the back. It's long enough to where it's perfectly fine. It's kind of like a fail-safe or whatever for making sure that you have enough room in front and behind your crop marks that printed out from the printer earlier. Now, this printer prints out a barcode for this exact model. And what this does is this barcode is actually a code for that number. And this number right here, what that is it's the stored information for the cut path that we set up with the cut contour color that is printed, or actually it's not printed, it's sent with the print to the cut server. I'll show you what the cut server looks like. Now, the cut server looks like this. It's got all these files over here, and it's got all the ones that we have. I know this one's called Wildcats, so here it is. This is just the cut information with the matching barcode right over there. And this is sent from the RIP. Right over here, you'll see it says cut server. When you open this up, this automatically connects to that machine that we just looked at. And that machine, once it reads the barcode, it'll take that barcode and go down this list until it finds this guy, matches it, and then it has this cut information. The most important thing to remember when you're running this machine before you run the barcode is you want to make sure that the F is in the barcode in the front, because otherwise it's going to try and flip it, and it's not very good at doing that, and it's going to mess some stuff up. You'll see there's another barcode on the back that says R, which means this one is in the rear. So when you do that correctly, everything will cut just fine. So at this point, you verified that your cut path is inside the cut server. It doesn't look squirrely at all. Like there's not like some random point that's just cutting it in half or something like that. That does happen sometimes. You might have to resend the file at that point without printing it. That's a story for a different day. And at this point, you've also got the media loaded. You've got it pretty darn straight. You've got your laminate extra cut off, so it's not gonna drag on anything. It knows where it is. Now you have to set the origin point of where you're going to start to say the media starts. So we're gonna go onto the controls here. You got your little D-pad, and you can bring it down, and that moves it forward, or you can bring it up, and that moves it back. And that is about where you want it, a little bit beyond the barcode, not too far. but also on a laminate so you can test the cut. So we're gonna move it down just a tiny bit, and then we're just gonna press enter, and then we're just gonna press origin. Origin point is set. Cool. So at this point, what you want to do is you want to hit the condition button. And what the condition does is it shows you the condition number, the tool you're using, which is the correct one, the speed that you're cutting at, and the force that you're cutting at. And that's what we're testing right now. Is the force of this knife too much or too little for this laminate and vinyl to cut through it without cutting into the paper? Because if it cuts into the paper, what's going to happen is when you try to weed these out and remove all the extra vinyl around them after it cuts them out, it's going to take up some of that paper with it, and you're going to have a hell of a time trying to get it off of it if you don't know what you're doing. So what we're going to do is, you can see it has down here, it says cut test. You press the left one for the single test and the right one for the triple test. We're just going to do the single test, leave it at force 22, see what it does. And then we're going to, after that, it's in the position that I wanted at, pretty darn good. We're going to press the enter key as it says on the screen. It cuts it and then it shows it to us. So right here is where the cut is, if you can see that. Basically what you're trying to do is make sure that you can take that off. Usually in one piece, sometimes the center stays in if you're cutting a really good job. But at the same time, you can kind of see, let's see if I can't show you where it is. You can almost kind of see the back of the paper. There it is. Right through there, you can kind of see it's cutting a little bit deep, but I don't think it's deep enough to cause me a problem, so I'm going to say that's good. What you could do after you press the enter key again is you could go through and you could press force, and it's going to give you up, down, whatever arrows. In the top is a condition number, the bottom is a configuration force for that condition. Bring it down. I'm going to bring it down to 20 and say that that's good. Cool. So now what you're going to do is you're going to get out of this menu, you're just going to press condition again. Your barcode server is running, your graphic is straight, your pressure is correct, your cut servers, cut line files are all looking pretty good. So you can now just hit barcode. You're going to line this up to be in front of the barcode. Just a little bit. Right about there. And you also kind of want to keep it in line with that first crop mark, so it's going to read that as well. So after that, you're going to see your screen, position the tool carriage before the start mark, and press the enter key. We're going to press the enter key. Now this thing's going to start to fully automate. So it's going to look for the barcode mark to know where the barcode starts. And it's going to read the barcode. Read the barcode, found the file that it needs. Here's the furthest mark, here's the first mark, here's the next mark, here's the last mark. And away she goes. So this is going to take a minute. I'm going to stop the video here and bring you back over to the production table once it's all cut. Or actually, no, I'm going to probably show you how to remove it, drop in the hammer real quick, and I'm going to bring it over to the production table with you so you can see how to weed real quick. All right, so your barcode worked correctly. You can see that you've got some nice cut marks all the way around this beautiful Wildcat. Now to take the media out, you can drop the hammer. Usually I hold it with one hand, kind of how we took it off the printer over there, but we're just gonna let it fall. It's not too big, not too big of a problem. Take the whole thing, bring it over back to the production table. Pardon the mess, we did some work today. Toss that right over there. Get this laminate clear out of the way. Show you how to weed out the vinyl around it. So what you can start to do is you can use the same thing as removing the extra laminate around it. You're just gonna kind of give it a cut. I'm super glad I'm not one-handed because this is tough. Okay, so at that point, you can pull back on the decal. And if you get this little tiny guy like that, it's also kind of helping you. So you can take this whole decal extra all the way around it and carefully around the tail, making sure you don't mess anything up, around the Wildcat's face. You're going to take out all of this extra material, just like that. now you have yourself a perfectly weeded, perfectly cut, well-made, well-colored, pretty darn good looking Wildcat logo. Do the same thing to the other one. I'm gonna show you how to mask, and that'll be it for this channel, guys. Okay, so pardon our buffer. This is the masking table. This thing's pretty cool. Got all these little rolls on it. This is also, I think we went over this once before, this is pneumatically controlled. Super handy. We're not gonna use that part today. We're just gonna use this part over here, unfortunately. Sorry to burst your bubble. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay our graphic down. We're gonna pull this mask over top of the graphic. And then what it does is it makes it so parts like this, like the tail, as you can see a lot better now how the cuts looked out. Parts like the tail that are really skinny, the ears and stuff, and like any really complicated logos, instead of having to fight that when you're putting it all down, you'll actually have this mask over top of it, so it'll in essence make it one big decal, and then you just remove the mask after you put it down, and you'll have just a decal remaining. So in order to do that, I'm gonna have to put this down using our little buffer wheel here as our little tripod. Show you exactly how we're gonna do it. That right there is the end. We're gonna start from over here. We're gonna bring that all the way to the end and one separate piece. So you're gonna grab both edges, put it right over, start it a little tiny bit, and give it a light hand squeegee down. You're gonna cut this whole thing out of the mask, bring it back over to the production table, and then you're gonna squeegee it with an actual squeegee. And this graphic, after you cut it out a little bit, will be all set to go. I'm gonna grab myself a knife. Okay, got ourselves a knife. We're gonna just gently score the same way we kind of did with the vinyl earlier, all the way around this thing. Make sure you don't cut on the graphic. But we do it this way because we're preserving the surface of this table. This table is also a lamination table. So just like the laminator, you don't want to cut on the surface because it will mess up your future laminates. We could have laminated on this guy, but I chose not to because it's just not as cool. So at this point, we're going to bring it up to the production table, but here we are. You just do a hard squeegee on the whole entire thing. And what that does, show you the difference, is it really gets that to stick to the graphic. So right there, just a hand squeegee. Now if you hard squeegee it, you can see the difference. That helps in your transfer, because what you want is you want all of this air bubbles and stuff to not be on the surface anywhere, even though this is an air release vinyl. I got two good looking decals. You can take these guys back over to the production table. You can cut them in half, trim out some of this excess around there, make them into nice squares or something, and you're pretty much good to go. And there you have it, guys. We got two Wildcat logos ready to go, cut out, masked, and cut out again. Nice, decent looking squares, pretty darn close, ready for application. Catch that in the next video.